Arsenal win back possession, and it's broken nicely to Cazorla, 30 metres from goal, plays it to the edge of the area. Alexis Sanchez goes for goal and scores. That's a brilliant goal from Alexis Sanchez. He's been Arsenal's star man this season, and maybe now they're going to get the
Happy birthday to us.
Us.
Mike.
Oh, where's the second? What's the second lyric to
Oh,
that?
they don't need to. They don't need to hear more than that.
Hello.
Hello, Gooners in USA coming at ya. Post Bayern, and post Lincoln.
The 31st podcast, Andy. We are
31.
into the 30s, and
you're only as old as the last podcast you felt.
And this one almost didn't happen. Fear not, fellow Gits, but we almost skipped this podcast for various reasons. And the decision was going to be to repost our first ever podcast from back in August, since virtually no one was listening to us back then. But then we made the shrewd decision to go back and listen to it, and my God, I think we'll keep that kind of buried for the time being, Andy. I don't think that's ready to be out there in the.
Well, it is out there, and you can find it.
We're not going to tell you how to find it, but it's out there, and it's
embarrassing.
It's bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's embarrassing.
Pretty bad. I'm actually surprised Skype didn't send us an automated email saying, guys, this garbage is not what we invented this program for.
That's why you don't marry the first girl you kiss, because it never turns out well.
No, it certainly doesn't, although I wish someone would have told me that. By the way, I'm actually proud to say I'm doing the podcast from my normal location this week, from my office, not from a car or a rickshaw or a bus or anything like that. So,
nice.
Kind of settling back into a normal routine.
We are settling back into a normal routine.
Belated happy birthday to you, Andy.
Hey, thanks. You too.
Yours came first on, Friday?
It did come on Friday. I went to Vegas to celebrate. I was going to go meet up with the Sin City Gooners, but I got into Vegas about 30 minutes before the match. So I ended up watching it poolside, getting my tan on.
Oh, you got it on Saturday. Okay. Well, see, I saw some visual proof that you celebrated your birthday in style, like every brand new red-blooded American macho guy does by going to Vegas and tweeting out pictures of your fucking feet while getting a mani-pedi.
Freedom.
With the words "treat yourself."
Treat yourself.
Now, you told me you were the only guy in there, but I'm assuming you mean other than my butler who was out on vacay over there this week. But that's your street cred just went through whatever the opposite of a roof is.
Oh, God.
Although I have to say, the last time I saw your skin, it was very soft, and your forehead looks great after your facial. So
thank you. And where did you watch the game and take in your birthday celebration?
I had a wonderful weekend that included a victory over Lincoln from my favorite home pub, the Ireland's Four Courts,
nice,
with my boys and my girls. And although they have no idea they're my girls, but
aren't they called hoes?
Not to their face, and some of them listen. Some of them listen to this show, so no, I would never.
He would never say that about you.
And just because I hugged you a little strangely after the game, don't take that the wrong way.
Hey, speaking of hoes, how great was Jason Davies last week?
You know who I hate? You know who I don't hate? Jason Davies. He was fantastic. I just laid down some Welsh justice, classic banter, both on the pod and after we stopped recording and throughout the week on Twitter. I mean, that there's no better guy than Jason Davies.
He is my second favorite Welsh person.
Okay. And who's the first?
You don't know him. It doesn't matter.
Oh, there's a real person. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a guest this week.
No, we don't have a guest. I do want to ask a couple more questions though about your spa weekend because I'm fascinated by this. Was your eyebrow threading appointment on Saturday after the Lincoln game, or was it on Sunday when you were kind of coming down from everything?
It was on Sunday.
Nice.
6 mimosas deep.
Nice. And You know you're not supposed to eat those little cucumber slices. You're supposed to put those on your eye. And is there any – and the last thing before we move on, is there any coincidence to the fact that 1 week after we add a listener from the Philippines, I see pictures of you getting a pedicure from said listener?
No.
Coincidence?
Well,
coincidence? Racism? I mean, what would you call that? It's
definitely not racism. But it could be coincidence.
Okay, well, good. But yeah,
it's racist of you to assume they're from the Philippines.
That's what I meant by racist. But yeah, so besides both of our birthdays, it's been a long week since we last talked to you, our beloved Git listeners. It's been filled with sadness, embarrassment, anger, hope, nervousness, joy, illness, laryngitis in my case, which I'm still getting over, hepatitis, cirrhosis, vaginosis of Andy, and all these osises. Yeah, so from your spa weekend, but so we're getting the pod out late. It's going to be kind of short, like a podlet, like a little mini pod, like a Git cast, perhaps you could call it, and no guests this week.
No guests,
but that does not mean that we are struggling in the guest department. We have some amazing guests coming up over the next couple months that are in the works, and we're going to keep those under wraps for now. But starting next Monday, we're going to be on continue our good run of guests, and we're very excited about it. So big things on the horizon. Going to bring so much Arsenal-related guest talent to our Gits that they're not going to be able to handle it. They're not. Their heads are going to explode.
They will. Weekly question, Mike.
Yeah, I would like for the weekly question to be: who does Lucas Perez have to blow to get more than 20 minutes on the field? I mean,
seriously,
that's not our actual question of the week. We're actually going to skip over the question of the week, but I mean, that is I'm left from these two games that we had this week, just kind of wondering when that's going to happen. And I'm sorry, Chris, who is perhaps. Chris Carpenter, perhaps Lucas Perez's least strong proponent. It's time. You have to admit, it's time.
Yeah, we need.
He's not Thierry Henry, but he's Lucas
not
Perez.
Thierry Henry, but he's also not Giroud, and he's going to give us something different. And against Liverpool, against Bayern. We were lining up with speed, and then you throw Giroud in, and that's a completely different tactical plan. And so it's weird, when Welbeck went out injured, that we didn't just straight substitute Perez in, and not like for like player, but pretty damn close.
What has he done? I mean, I would like to see.
And that's
report.
the crazy thing. It's like you wonder what is happening in training sessions. That he isn't getting a look into the starting 11 because his work rate on the pitch is so high. You think that would also show in training. And I don't understand. I understand the threat of Giroud, but I just don't understand why he's getting all these starts over him and really not producing very much.
Yeah.
I've also thought, I want to know how many goals Giroud has scored from a standing position. Like the goal against Lincoln was
as opposed to like being in like the starting blocks of a.
Well, like yeah, I mean, how often is he like literally taking one step or just standing still? I mean, great positional awareness, but dude doesn't work that hard for these goals, does he?
I don't know. I've never looked at him as being a lazy player.
No, I'm not saying he's lazy. It's unbelievable the position he puts himself into.
Well, but that's worth something. You got to be in the right position, and I feel the same way about Lucas.
Mike, we as Arsenal fans only rate players on how far they run in a match.
That's true.
So, hear me out here, guy.
Don't forget how far Giroud ran for that scorpion kick goal on that play, though.
Well, that's probably the most work he's ever done on a goal.
But if you average out that goal with 16 goals that he scored from a standing position, it's still the second most runningest player on the field. So, yeah, so we'll put our team of researchers on that stat right away because even Opta, I don't think, has a stat for that. Do we need to talk about Bayern at all? I mean, it's been a week. It's been a week.
No, I don't think so. You know what?
I'm dead inside from that game,
Yeah,
so I don't.
It's embarrassing. That's all it is. The highlights from that match were the Aux played really well again. I thought the Xhaka Ramsey combo worked pretty well. I thought until Koscielny did what Koscielny does, it just again, why didn't we bring on Gabriel and just shore up that defense? But referee had his part. I thought the Lewandowski penalty, he dove.
He pushed off.
He did. The rule in UEFA is if you're playing for the ball, you don't get red carded unless it's like a really bad tackle, and it wasn't. So he should have gotten a yellow, and a penalty would have been enough.
And I've heard that he was offsides. I haven't seen any verification of that because frankly, I don't want to go back and look at the tape.
No, I don't either. The thing is, Mike, is it's just embarrassing to lose 10-2. I mean, that is the embarrassing thing, especially after today when you see Leicester advance and you're just thinking, I get Bayern and Sevilla, just two different teams, but fuck, I mean, it's embarrassing. That's all it is. But
Sevilla wouldn't have lost 10-2. They would have figured out a way not.
No, absolutely.
They're far inferior to the way we are, but they would have figured out a way not to lose 10-2.
When you are in the final 16 of the Champions League, the aggregate should be a couple goal difference. It should not be an 8 goal difference.
No,
and
it should.
The frustrating thing, and I think the biggest thing that really came home is all these people quoting Gazidis after the match saying, "We're moving to the Emirates so we can compete with the likes of Bayern," and it seems like every year we're slipping further and further away.
Have you ever seen somebody who speaks relatively rarely, yet has so many of his comments come back to haunt him 4 or 5 years later? I mean, Gazidis this week, that comment and the one about, when the fans start showing us, that it's not working anymore, that'll be the time when it's not working anymore. I mean, those two quotes, it's Trump-esque. It's almost like he didn't say those things.
It's like he says the thing that we want to hear at the time, thinking that there's going to be change, and then the change never comes. So he has egg on his face, and it's like he squashes whatever we want to hear, and then turns around and then, it's just when we were in California last summer.
That sounds awfully familiar, though.
Well, totally. No, it's what we do as a PR, but the whole debate on whether or not people should be marching down the streets is idiotic, and then there's the rumors there's going to be a plane over West Brom. There's not going to be a fucking plane.
Oh, I don't doubt that there will be.
No,
I don't doubt that there will be. And this will be interesting because when you say the debate about whether there should be people walking down the street is idiotic, is it the debate or the walking down the street that's idiotic in your mind?
The walking down the street.
See, I differ with you on that.
Well, and that's fine. We're in America, Mike, the land of freedom. So we are free to differ. But here's the thing, right? If there was a march of 10,000 fans and supporters, I think the club turns around and takes notice. The problem is it's 100 people, and it's the same 5 that are leading the march and getting onto the cameras.
I gotta say, and this is going to pin me into a position that I don't feel comfortable being pinned into because I'm not a Wenger out brigade member. I'm not I've stated what I think should happen, but I'm not, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be standing on Avenel or Gillespie Road right before the game when these marches are happening. And I've talked to some of my friends that I'm going over there with. They can't wait to join that march. I am not going to join that march, but I'm awfully interested in seeing it because I think it's first of all, it's not 100 people. There's a lot of narrative about it, but I would estimate the video that I saw. I would estimate between 250 and 350, and that's because I know how to do simple math of counting the people in a row and then counting how many rows there are and then multiplying those two numbers together. But yeah, I mean, it's more people than they're willing to admit. It's not as many people as would really make it a standout type of thing. But I have
0.005% of the crowd at the Emirates.
Agreed. I think it's going to grow. I think it's again, there's a lot of reasons not to like it. It doesn't make us look particularly good, but it's also really just about the only way that people who are not happy about what's going on in this situation can organize and express themselves. And they're going to face a lot of people who try to minimize them and who are trying to act like it's not a huge deal until it becomes one. And I think they have the potential. If the leaders of that weren't such knobs sometimes about the way they talk about everything, and we're a little bit more level-headed about it, that would be different. Unfortunately, the people who talk about these the most don't necessarily have the best reputation or the best actions about it. But I think it's interesting. I'm fascinated by it, and I don't think it's bad or it's a lack of support for the team. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
So. We'll see. It's going to be something to keep an eye on over the next couple months.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Moving on to Lincoln and the FA Cup match. So, by all accounts,
insecure.
You were freaking out.
Well, and if you look at the first half, I think that was why I was freaking out. They're a team that basically they did to Burnley what they did against us in the first half. Except they did it for the whole game because it's Burnley and not Arsenal.
Well, if you look at how they started, we looked like a team. We definitely looked like a team that were on the ropes, not just in that match, but just a team on the ropes. We did not play with confidence, and
it was almost like we had nothing to gain.
No,
everything to lose.
And Theo, credit to him, had a beautiful shot saved. I mean, unbelievable from that keeper to parry that away from goal and off the post. And you almost think if Theo would have scored that would have been earlier in the game. I think the Tides would have been a completely different match. And then they got very unlucky. It would have been a hard finish to bury, but Czech, played well when he was called in the one time. But you could totally tell the class and the difference between Arsenal and Lincoln. And you could also tell, compared to Sutton, the pitch made a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the Lincoln they were always going to be trying to keep it 0-0 for as long as they possibly could, sneak one or take it to a shootout. In which case, I would have felt awfully good if I were them going against Petr Cech in a shootout. But as soon as the first goal came, I sighed a big sigh of relief, both because I was happy the goal came, and also because I had just exited the men's room and was feeling much better. But yeah, that first goal, going right in before halftime, it broke them.
It totally did.
Your boy Theo.
Can we talk for a second about how much of a douchebag that Reed guy is for Lincoln? I mean, dude, I
kind of liked him.
First of all, dude's severely overweight. And
that's why I like him.
And then, second of all, he fucking was laying on the ground more than he was actually standing tall. So that's another reason why you like him.
But that's the classic WWE rest move thing. When you got a big out of shape wrestler guy, big powerful guy with absolutely no cardio, you end up with 5-minute sleeper holds because that's basically how he gets his breath back. So this guy, every time he put in a little bit of a shift. He had to go down for 3 or 4 minutes, catch his breath, and get back up again. I mean, it was a strategy. There's a reason why there was 6 minutes of injury time in the first half.
Well, exactly, and that 6 minutes is really what broke that
downfall. Yeah,
absolutely.
So fuck you.
Yeah. But the last thing I want to just point out with Reed is, dude's fixing his comb over every 35 seconds. The amount of fucking grease and detergent he had in his hair. Someone needs to tell him that shit's not moving.
Detergent?
Yeah. It was so greasy and gross that
he used 2 bottles of Palmolive before the game, and
fuck that guy.
And just when you thought the dude couldn't get any uglier, he puts 2 fucking paper towels in his nostrils and looks like. I took a picture of that and tweeted it out. I'm like, dude couldn't have gotten any fucking uglier, and then he did. It was fantastic. But that was quite a capitulation in the second half by Lincoln. I didn't expect that, but it was a nice, comfortable second. It's been a while since I've been able to sit and watch a game in the second half of the game and just relax and enjoy it. Even that, the last time we won a game, which I believe was was it the whole game when I was in New Orleans?
I think
that
so.
game went right down to the end. It was 1-0 until injury time. So, I mean, there hasn't been just a sit back and enjoy the game for a long, long time. So it was nice.
I'm not getting excited over it because it's Lincoln, but it's nice to see us win. So we obviously got drawn in the semifinals against City. Do you think that this is the best draw for us?
I mean, it just depends on who we face on the day. I would have to say, of the teams that are left, I mean, I would fancy our chances against Tottenham, but I'd also, they're used to playing in Wembley this season, although not that well. I don't think facing Chelsea would have really helped us very much at this point. We're going to see them in the final if we get there, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll take City. I mean, at some point we got to draw a tough team, and this was going to be it.
Yeah, well, any team that we drew we're going to be tough. It's kind of, when you look at our record against the top 5, I mean, we're clearly doomed. But I think City is the best option for us because Chelsea are just a better team than us. Their manager tactically is better. They're like for like in players. And so I would completely fear playing them at this point. Tottenham, I feel like that's the banana skin where we were just like, hey, it's Tottenham. And I think City are that team where they can be as shit as we can. So like you said, it depends what City team we play on the day. Yeah.
Think of the last 4 teams we've played in Wembley when we've won 4 straight games there in the FA Cup. I'm not talking about Charity Shield, but
right.
Villa, I mean, it's been Villa, Hull, Wigan, and Reading.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we've had some tough early cup runs to navigate through, but then they got real easy at the end. This time it was a little tougher at the beginning, if you want to call, Southampton, I guess, a tougher match. But, but it's going to be hard to finish this one off. But I got if we put all of our attention into this now, I got some optimism that we can pull it off. So here's a question, adapted from a very explosive question posted on the Arsenal America Facebook page by our good friend George from Boston, who then kind of stepped out of the discussion and watched our fan bases go after each other like a bunch of morons, among which was me. Pretend it's your birthday, Andy. Mm-hmm. You get a choice of one present and only one present. You have to choose between Arsenal FA Cup title this season, but we finish below the scum in the standings, or no silverware and we finish above the scum in the standings. Forget top 4. That's just not involved, whether we finish ahead of Spurs or win an FA Cup. We've had similar questions before, but not this exact one. How do you rate the FA Cup in that situation?
I want the FA Cup because in 5 years from now, 3 years from now, no one's going to remember our league position being above Tottenham. They're going to remember that we won the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and
other than to say it hasn't been 27 straight years.
But the only people that are going to say that are Tottenham supporters, because the Tottenham supporters keep talking about how there's this change coming and Tottenham are the brighter team of the future. I've been hearing that for 10 seasons now. Talk to me when you finish above us 20 plus years in a row. Talk to me when you've won a couple league titles. Talk to me when you've won a couple FA Cup titles and we haven't. So I would take the FA Cup all day long. You know that I love this cup. I think it's super important, and I think that any supporter that says the FA Cup is a joke is a fucking idiot. Because at the end of the day, the FA Cup is
except for the ones that listen to our podcast.
Well, no, because the FA Cup is a huge tradition in the UK, right? It may not have carried over since the Champions League, but a lot of people still remember the days where it was a big spectacle. And a lot of people count the EFL Cup as a joke cup. I think it is until you make it to the semifinals. And then everyone's like, all right, let's take this seriously now. The FA Cup for me will always be bigger than finishing above Tottenham. So I would take that 100% any day of the week.
Yeah, I would too. But it was an interesting debate because it's a huge trophy, and it's just not as hard to win it as the Champions League or the Premier League is, of course, which is the reason that teams don't necessarily take it as seriously. They don't always play their first team. I mean, the financial rewards are higher for the other competitions. So with the fixture calendar getting so so messed up after January, you got teams resting their players for FA Cup games instead of playing them, which is why you get Wigan and Hull and Reading and all those in the Final Four and Lincoln in the Final Eight. But I mean, it's kind of ruined the FA Cup in that regard, but I don't consider it hasn't ruined it for me. I mean, I love a good deep run in a cup. You know that about me, Andy. I love doing lots of different things in cups. Finishing ahead of Tottenham is mocked by a lot of people, mostly in my opinion, the Wenger out folks.
Right.
Because they look at it as a mock trophy and an acceptance of mediocrity, which is the point of view.
But it goes to show that their viewpoint is skewed. I mean, it's embarrassing to assume that Arsenal should win the league and the Champions League every season. And I get the argument that we want to be in the mix, and I get the argument that we bow out way too early. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of teams that are not vying for a trophy at this point, and we are still in, and we still have a great chance to win it. And so it's bullshit that these guys can't get behind the team and support them in every competition.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, Mike, if we win the FA Cup, those fucking lot are going to be down at the Emirates celebrating with everyone else. It's hypocritical to say that it's not. Excuse me, it's not an important trophy. Is it the allure of the Champions League? No, but let's talk about for a second what team has the most FA Cup wins.
Right now, it's a tie between us and United.
Right. So we are in the upper echelon of this cup. So let's go out there and take what is ours. Let's go out there and make it our cup.
I agree. I mean, we're in 100% agreement. I just thought it was interesting the argument from a lot of people who I know to be let me try to use the right words here. North London bred, lifelong or from birth supporters who are as into the North London proximity and the rivalry as a person could be, perhaps a lot more so than a lot of those of us who became fans, later in life or from afar. There's a lot of defensiveness about the Tottenham issue. And I saw many of them in this discussion back and forth saying, finishing ahead of Tottenham is basically secondary only to winning the league or the Champions League, and considerably far ahead of winning the FA Cup or any other cup or fourth place or whatever those other trophies or trophy-like things are considered. So it was an interesting conversation, and but I agree with you. FA Cup, a farewell FA Cup. I hope it would be the way to do it. Take the silver.
Yeah, it would be great to see. It'd be great to see us beat Spurs in the final, and take the silverware and have him walk off into the sunset.
Speaking of farewell, Arsene Wenger. What's going on, Andy? I've been hearing that there's been and I haven't heard a lot of people say this, but I'm hearing that the club has actually asked him with a deadline basically given where he has to announce whether he's coming back or not before the end of this upcoming international break. I mean, there should be a deadline for a decision to be made, but it's kind of crazy that it's his decision and not theirs. But either way, do you think that we find something out before the Man City game? Podcast sigh.
Yeah. Ding.
That's not how it works.
I have my own ding.
Oh, okay. Well, then get one.
You
should get one like a whoo.
Who knows if it's true that there's been a deadline. I've been kind of retweeting some of the whole Max Allegri has given Arsenal a deadline bullshit that the Mirror is running, because no one gives Arsenal a deadline. There's no manager in Europe who would say, "Tell me in the next 3 weeks." Right?
No, but apparently somebody lets Arsenal string along until he's good and ready to make a decision.
But maybe he truly doesn't know. I mean, it's all what ifs and buts, right? But I guarantee you, the moment that Arsene walks into Gazidis and Kroenke's office or Skype, FaceTime conversation and says, I'm not the manager. There's a succession plan in place. And no manager is going to give an ultimatum, I don't think that the deadline – I still think he's re-signing. And I think that the tempers are so hot right now that there's no good time for him to announce when he is re-signing.
And I say that like all confidently, like I didn't just say 3 weeks ago that I thought he wasn't re-signing.
Right.
I'll go back to my earlier comments from the beginning of the season where I said I thought he already signed, and he may well have already signed. But, I mean, if we do not take all 3 points at West Brom this week, and then we go into a 2-week break where a couple of our players go off to get injured, overseas, and, I mean, how could they possibly announce an extension during that international break without just – I mean, I'm going to be over there for the City game and for the next 2 games after that. I'm literally, believe me, I wish I was going over there to celebrate a championship run-in and major success. But if you're going to go over there for an interesting time in the history of the club, at least the recent history of the club, this is a pretty interesting time.
Yeah, I think that the club are smart enough, and I think Arsene's smart enough to understand that if he were to announce his retirement today, if he were to say, I'm leaving Arsenal, so maybe not retirement, but he's leaving the club, I think that the supporters as a whole, including those guys that make a living off of slating him, would get behind him for the end of the season. I think that they would send him off.
He's running out of window for that, though.
He totally is.
100% a month ago.
No, he totally is, and that's why I believe he's re-signed, and they're just waiting for the time. Unfortunately, Mike, with the way this team is playing, we don't have a chance in hell of beating City coming up or in the FA Cup semifinal. Based off of what we've seen the last month and a half, it's not looking good. So the window for him to announce that he's re-signing is also becoming very, very slim.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, I mean, there is a point at which he announces he's re-signed, and it's unfortunately, and rightly or wrongly, it's, fuck you. Why are you announcing this now? We've just been knocked out of the FA Cup. We're down in 6th place now. This is the gloom and doom scenario, but it's one that's not that unrealistic given our games coming up in the next month or so. And to announce that then, he blew his window of having the team rally behind him and say, let's just try to win a cup together and ride off into the sunset. There's going to be a point where people say, oh, you're going? Good riddance. And that is sad. That's the sad part.
Well, the whole thing is just fucked because we're in one of those...
Top analysis on this podcast.
Well, but we are, because you look at him not announcing that he's leaving, but then you look at the things that are happening behind the scenes. So the majority of our coaching staff are leaving. So you wonder, is that a sign of things to come? Do they know something we don't, and they're going to different pastures? Are they doing that because a new coach has been hired already and he said, I'm bringing my own staff with me, which hopefully that would happen eventually, right? Or are we just getting to a point where our coaching staff have gotten so decent or perceived to be decent that they're now getting snapped up by other teams, which hopefully, if Arsene does stay, then he has to force himself to bring in new backroom staff. So hopefully that changes. So I think
no one's been picking up Stevie Bold.
No, because he's shit. Because he's fucking shit. Okay? But it's just, we are in one of those very unique and weird times at Arsenal because it's just been so consistent and nothing has changed from that respect for so long. And now these rumors aren't put to bed. We're seeing backroom staff leave.
It's bizarre because
it's a different
4 or 5 years ago when Van Persie left and Nasri left and Cesc left, and I mean it was just like, oh, this is just this. It's ridiculous. It's impossible to get new players in here. It's impossible to get anything going because we keep selling, and finally we kind of got over that hump and said, okay, now we're going to start building off of this, and we're right back in that situation now where Alexis and Ozil and Chambo and Bellerin and all, and coaches and everybody. It's just like, Vic Akers is talking about going to Chelsea now. It's like, it's just, that's
Vic
not
Akers
happening.
will not be going to Chelsea.
No, that's not happening. But it's just we're right back where we were 5 years ago, but without any accompanying excuse.
Right. Things are different. Things are changing. There's change. There's a storm coming, Mike, and the storm is either going to be that he stays, or the storm is that he leaves. And I think that the majority of the fan base that are saying that they want him to go are going to miss him when he's gone. I think Jason was a fucking genius last week when he said, "Can you name your grandfather twice removed?" I can't, but fucking Arsenal fans that are 75 plus years old are going to, like, when you're 75, you're going to remember the name Arsene Wenger. The guy is a fucking, for as much as we hate him right now, or as much as we're frustrated with him right now, he's a legend.
Oh, there's no question about that. And that's why it's so
but
ridiculously
changes on the horizon. Like, we're seeing it. We're seeing it just by his body language. We're seeing it with all this backroom staff change. If he were to say, "Hey, I'm re-signing a 2-year deal," but this backroom staff is being completely revolved, I'd be okay with that. Because we don't have a choice at this point, but I get behind that because there will be change.
Well, those are different comments. We don't have a choice. It's still the Arsenal, and we need to get behind it.
Right.
So I'm with you on all those things, but I would not be okay with it. I have completely migrated from, what is the better alternative, and to the window of things are stagnating to the point where the recovery period is going to be longer because of how long we waited to start the recovery period. That is my concern here, is that it was always going to be a 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 year rebuild when he leaves. But, as much as he has wanted to and said that he wants to leave this club in a better position when he leaves than when he came, and things would have to go way downhill from here for that to be the case.
Right.
He's already leaving it in much better position. I fear that the holding on just a little too long and the stubbornness towards the end, and specifically how it may drive some of the players away. And once they leave, they're dead to me, but I'd prefer they don't leave.
But we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. We don't know.
I do. I talk to all these guys on a daily basis. So.
We know that our bank accounts are in good standing, but outside of that, we don't know what's going on. We don't know that they haven't reached out to Simeone, who said, "I want another year." We don't know that Allegri isn't already hired. We don't know that he's signed. Like, right now, there's just a lot of unknowns and what ifs. But what we do know is,
why can't we know?
Because shit's changing.
Why can't we just tell us?
And losing.
I want to know, Andy.
Losing some of these coaches is, I think, what's going to be best for Arsenal. I really do. Here's my thing, Mike. Right now, we are in the cusp of worrying about whether or not number 7 and number 11 are going to re-sign. We need number 15 to re-sign. Because when Arsene originally signed the Ox from Southampton, we were all up in arms about how we weren't making any of these world-class signings. And I remember he said, "Trust me on this one." And we've all seen the glimpses of how good this player can be, but then injury happened. And we kept all saying, and same with Theo, like, what would have happened if he was fully healthy? Well, this season, for the most part, he's had a lot of run in this first team, and we're starting to see the Ox that we've been promised. And losing him to a Man City, to a Chelsea, would be fucking devastating.
You do get the sense that while Arsenal's not going to let Mesut or Alexis go to a rival, you get the sense that they might be happy to cash in above the odds on Chambo to a rival, and frankly, I'm very, very concerned about that happening. I think he is at the moment leaning out the door, And I know you've said that you're sure he's going to resign. I think that his grumblings, his agent. I've listened to a lot of content from podcasts this week. Some very, very good points made by a number of people, and I'm as concerned about the concept of his leaving as you are, but I actually think it's happening.
I see. So, I disagree only because
I'm Chicken Little right now, man. The sky is falling.
But I mean, the dude has been just a great professional. He went to the under-23 match last night. He watched the entire match. Like, that to me doesn't portray a guy who's looking to leave. You know what he
sucks at though? Movie trivia.
Yeah, he does.
Dude is the worst at movie trivia.
He leaned on you for movie trivia quite a bit.
Dude fucked us in movie trivia, but I still love the man. So
we're rambling here.
Yeah, but, and we still, and I think that we're rambling because you would like to avoid a very sensitive topic, which is the picks of the week.
So
and
here's
another reason I love Jason.
Here's the deal. Last weekend, I got to see Eric, and for those of the listeners who don't know, Eric is my lawyer. And
what law school did he go to?
He actually is a doctor, but he is also my lawyer. And he told me by the time he comes on,
so
this
he's
pod,
uber Jewish then.
By the time he comes on this podcast,
he's Jewish AF,
which is the post North London Derby. He is going to have adjudicated from week 1.
Does he have a dossier?
You're scoring.
Does he have a dossier is what I wonder. But let's just say this week it wasn't so much you and me. It was beloved Jason Davies because he is just generous. He's generous with his time. He's generous with his words. And he's generous with his picks of the week because I don't think in the 30 weeks that we've been doing picks, anyone has ever gotten all 5 games completely wrong until now. So thank you, Jason. We will have you on again very, very soon, or as soon as I need to pick up some more points. But I, on the other hand, came away with 5 points on the week. Nailed 4 out of 5 games, got one right on the nose. You got a cute little 3 points yourself, Andy. So Mike is in the ascendancy.
Well, what's the standing?
Out of the relegation spot, you've got the lead with 71 points still, but I have moved into the second slot with 67. And the suck-ass guests are stuck in third at 64 points. And that's just – is there a better way of getting good guest talent on the show than calling them suck-ass guests?
Well, we've got some great talent coming on, so hopefully they don't listen to this.
and presumably they'll know something about football. And my second-place status might be in jeopardy. But speaking of suck-ass guests, though, this week our guest picker is my boy John Horlick. Who I love those transitions. Johnny Boy is one of my best buddies, Arsenal guy. He's self-described cunt. Pardon my language. He's a grouch. But for some reason, he's really taken a liking to you, Andy. I don't know.
You know,
why
I was about to say, I feel like John and I are destined to be best friends. But the one thing that I love,
let's just say he could really use one,
is 99.9% of the time he reaches out to me, it's to make fun of you.
Yes, we do kind of have one of those relationships.
Which is usually accompanied by a picture of you drunk looking like a dick.
Well, there's only one picture of that because it's only ever happened once. So,
moving on, let's go. Come on, let's get these games going. I'm really excited about the shit game of the week.
Yes, the shit game of the week this week is Leicester City final eightists in the final octagists of the Champions League, the actual Champions League.
No one cares about the Champions League, by the way.
Yeah, it's shit competition at West Ham in the shit game of the week. Leicester are riding currently the West Ham January wave after getting rid of their piece of garbage, Premier League winning manager, who quite apparently was holding them down because they're just awesome now.
Yep.
Poor Claudio. 3-1 Leicester in this game.
See, I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go 2-0 West Ham. I think that Leicester are going to win the Champions League, but they're all going to get relegated.
Well, that's funny
spectacular fashion.
Because your cunt doppelganger, John, said West Ham win 1-0 because Leicester are frauds bound for relegation. So you are truly on the same wavelength right now. And I just love that because that's another point I'm going to pick up on both of you. Chelsea at Stoke. And, this is a little bit of a banana skin. I could see banana skin. Does that deserve one of those? I could see Chelsea having a misstep here and kind of struggling in this game. So I'm just going to pick them 2-0 to win.
What the fuck?
I would normally have gone 5-0.
I was going to say the same, 2-0.
Which is kind of funny because John says Chelsea win 2-0 because that's the season it's been. So we're all in lockstep there. Man U at Borough. Is this the week that Manchester United climbs out of 6th place
Probably
at our
since
expense?
Borough can't score to save their lives.
Potentially at our expense. It might be because, like you said, Borough's worse than Lincoln City at this point in time. 3-1 United.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 United.
Okay. Which is kind of funny because John says, I thought that Howard Webb retired, but United win 1-0 on a phantom penalty call late. So just to be clear, you guys have had the exact same picks and the exact same scores with 1 goal difference on one of the games.
And I haven't seen his picks.
Yes, no, that's true. That's true. They're kept in a vault. Liverpool at Man City. These teams have a lot of players who have played for both of these teams. I mean, Raheem Sterling, Milner, those are the latest. But you know who I hate? You know who I really, really hate? Craig Bellamy. I hate Craig Bellamy.
He had no neck.
I always hated. Yeah, he would walk around. He walked around like an orangutan, like just kind of glit around. And I think he did some bad things to
good people.
To some good people. Yeah. Got Colo Torre, Balotelli, McManaman. Another guy I really hate, Peter Beardsley. God, I hated Peter Beardsley in 1988. That fucking little. Ugh. I almost hated him as much as Gary Mabbutt.
All right. Stop channeling your inner Davies and let's move forward.
Yeah, there you go. So all this has absolutely nothing to do with my pick, of course, which is 3-2 City.
Yeah, I can't see. Oh man, this is just one. Again, this is just.
If you pick the same thing that he does for a third straight pick, I'm walking you over to his house so that you can just get it on with him already.
I am going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
Oh, so close. Okay. And John has it as a 2-2 draw that features goals from Jesus, from Counting Ho. I think he's referring to Coutinho there. To Mane. I don't know if that's Sadio or Gucci. And Bacardi Sangria, which is something he stole from you. And his dodgy hair. So 2-2. Last but not least, Arsenal at West Brom.
Talk about banana skin, Mike. Ding.
Yeah, banana skins. This is actually a grapefruit skin, a mango skin, it's everything. We've scored 1 Premier League goal since I was in New Orleans 5 weeks ago. Of course, we've only had like 1 or 2 games, I think. But and frankly, I think our next Premier League goal will happen at some point when I'm in London 3 weeks from now. So, I mean, it better because I'm going to 3 different games. But 0-0 in this one.
I was going to go same, dude.
Shit. Really?
Yeah, I swear to God, I was going to go 0-0.
This is your last chance to change that.
No.
Okay. John goes 1-0 to Arsenal, which, by the way, is the first time I think he's ever gone into a game declaring that Arsenal was going to win. Could be the most negative person Arsenal-wise that I've ever met. Yet I know he loves the club. At least I think he does. 1-0 on an Alexis goal, but Xhaka disgraces his federation. Nice, he's listening. By getting sent off again in a head-scratcher of a challenge. So yeah.
You know, speaking of Xhaka, there are so many challenges that we're seeing from Manchester United players, Chelsea players, that Xhaka's done the exact same thing. And he gets a straight red. And these fuckers don't even get a booking. And talk about having a target on your back. I mean, hopefully the guy can rid himself. And they are some stupid decisions, but they're not as bad as what other players are doing. They're equal, and so I feel really bad for the guy. But
yeah, I mean, once you get yourself into that kind of that Suarez, Balotelli kind of, you're never going to get the benefit of the doubt type of deal. And Xhaka's gotten there harshly.
No, he has,
but he's there, and you got to realize you're there.
This is going to be a tough game. It's banana skin written all over it. West Brom are no joke. I mean, they've had a decent season. They've lost a couple recently, but they're just a team that I think will sit back and look to counter us. And I'm not expecting it to be a pretty match.
Yeah, I mean, it'll obviously be, as it always is, it'll be interesting to see the lineup when we go in. I don't.
The lineup will be
really,
the same as what it's always been.
Are we going to see Giroud up top, or are we going to see three fast wing?
No, we're going to see
front
Giroud up top, unless
Welbeck's
recovered from his illness.
I heard it was the shits.
Well,
I went to shit. I went to.
He's just matching how we're playing then.
I went to footballplayershits.com and then I navigated past Jason Punchin onto the Welbeck page, and that's apparently what it is. But I have no idea what to expect in this game, other than the fact that it's certainly not going to be an easy win. And I just fear the only thing worse than us having 3 to 7 days to dwell on bad result is 14 days with a game against Man City coming up. That's going to be fun. So, final thoughts. We're going to wrap this up in under an hour for once. We're still on 66 countries, but it's because we've got almost all the countries, Andy. I mean, I did a search, and the only countries that we don't have listeners in currently are Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Silent Stan. Those are the only ones. Thank you for that wonderful real laugh that you just gave me.
So what about the other 160-ish countries or 130-ish countries we're not in?
What are you talking about? There's only like 71 countries, dude. You're thinking of the number of bones in the body. Or speaking of bones in the body, we didn't talk about Coquelin once in this entire podcast.
Good, because he's shit.
Yeah, he is. So anything else going on?
No, I will say, speaking of bones, I really love the fact that Ramsey controlled the ball with his penis and then walked it into the back of the net.
Yes, we learned
the
new
old
things about
penis touch.
That was a can't miss. That's what you call a high percentage shot.
The classic penis touch.
Yep. Or was it his vagina? We won't know.
Whoa.
We'll have to take a closer look on our next podcast. So anyway, speaking of our next podcast, we should be potting on Monday night, review the West Brom game. And again, we are expecting a very, very special guest. We'll solicit for some questions over the weekend because you're certainly going to want to chime in with some questions to get answered. And hopefully it'll all come off. And
listen, guys, it's Thierry Henry. I can't hold it anymore. We have
Andy, you son of a bitch. It's somewhere in between John Horlick and Thierry Henry. That's the guest that we're having next week.
It's Ali Adier then.
It's much closer to Thierry Henry than to John Horlick, though, I will say on the scale. If we're going to grade on a curve, that's it's definitely going to be that. But we're looking forward to it. Hopefully you will too. And keep on listening. Record. Subscribe. Listen to our YouTube page. Go on our MySpace. Swipe left on Arsenal Tinder, and come on.
We're on Grindr.
Yeah, Grindr. That's true. Come on, you Gooners.